Where does your favorite rank? That's what we always wonder once the new Brave units come out and the refines come out along with all of their skills. How can I upgrade my favorite and what do they look like? We have damage analysis, builds, all sorts of great things that we're going to look at to see the landscape of Braves right now. But I need to know in the comments, who is your favorite? Which one are you looking forward to upgrading the most? Let's talk about how we're ranking these units. And first, as always in most of my tier lists, it's player base impact. I am curious who is the best for the most people. So this is mainly competitive modes and how these units rank within those. The next is how unique these units are. And in another tier list, this might be a little more nuanced, but just to be flat out straight with you guys, this has to do with whether they can use their preference weapons. And if you can use your preference weapon, then you are more unique because a lot of these units are older and don't have that luxury. The last one is, can they do their job? Can this unit kill as a nuke, survive as a tank, or create good support? All of that factors into this. Let's talk a little bit about the damage analysis because I'm going to go quickly through a lot of these. This is the scale. I'm going to have this shrunk down below the units for the most part. What you're going to see is if they're past that middle point, that is in the green region, and that means it is something you can definitely work with. You go lower than that, you get into yellow. If you're past that last row, though, you are into the red there. Then we get into the assumptions. A big one for this round is, can you proc your special? I know this sounds like a small thing, but we're getting higher and higher cooldowns, and cooldowns are cheap. But I just want to know that I am assuming the team takes care of that. The other is ideal circumstances. If this unit needs buffs, then it gets buffs. If the teammates around them need buffs, they get buffs. If they need units around them, all of that is assuming that you can take care of that somehow through you being clever. And the last is, these are all max invest builds because I want to see them at their absolute best to compare them. Let's get into E tier though. E tier, quite simply, are the hardest units to use. And I want to go over this right here. You can make all of these units work depending on where you want to get them to function. But there are places for these units all over this game. There are many, many ways to play this game. But E tier requires extraordinary support, and they're just flat out difficult. And right up at the start, we talk about our Omni tanks.
I will defeat you!
Omni tanks have always been an extraordinarily hard archetype to get to work because every single stat matters, and you need damage, and you need survivability, and all of these other things. But right now in the meta, with nukes being as powerful as they are even harder to make work. Now, I have a couple examples here, and I want to go through each one of these. The first is Ike, and the fact is, all of those numbers are yellow. 38 DR, true damage of 37, and a boosted damage of 47. This unit is already going to have a difficult time securing kills, just to be flat out. The other problem is this unit is going to have a difficult time surviving against units like Camilla. You need to have a miracle support or some other thing and many, many other pieces to help this unit come out on the right side of this. It is really a dark time for us Brave Ike fans right now. When you talk about something like Johanna Lance, though, and I'm looking at Lucina here, things get a little brighter. And what you're seeing here is a unit with just incredibly attacking power, which is a lot of the nukes right now, comes in, slams into you, and you have some sort of miracle support. In this case, it's going to be Ymir as the most likely candidate that you'll have, and this unit is going to be able to hit back for an extraordinary amount of boosted damage. 150 is a lot. That is all of the damage that is being taken in and reflected back. This is a good way to build a unit right now. The problem is Brave exists everywhere, and you have it on a ring, so there are a lot of different units that can have that. 2 hits are likely going to take this unit out. 30 damage reduction is passable, but it's going to be hard to make work versus the absolute elite nukes. And again, I'm probably gonna say it a lot, but Camilla is out there, and her most popular ring is the Eirika ring. 2 hits, and poof, you're gone. Still, if you can avoid the elite nukes by either clever positioning or possibly being able to snipe them off the bat, this is definitely a workable way to use this unit. We then move on to Dimitri, who almost has passable flat DR, but 47 against a lot of these units. If you want to know, right now I've got the median at Black Knight. He's at 59. That is about the minimum threshold that I want to see out of a decent tank. And this unit doesn't quite get there. They have given him a lot of skills over the years, just not in this past year. It is amazing to me trying to build up all of these Omni tanks, how similar these builds are to last year when I did this before. Still, you are able to keep his preference weapon, and that does boost up the flat DR, and combine that with attack, defense, excel, and null see avoid is one of my very favorite Omni tank skills, and you've seen attack speed faith off of all of these units. You can come together to bring a decent unit. Just like Lucina, you're going to have to be able to pick off the most intense of the nukes or position yourself out of the way. It makes these units very, very hard to work with.
No one gets through.
My next batch I'm simply dubbing Cannon Fodder 2. Now, what we have here is these units have a little more uniqueness to them than the ones we just saw. Even Dimitri, who has flat DR, that has become something that's so commonplace that it's a little more difficult to use. We have Tiki up first, and you can see a lot of what Tiki's going to struggle with is damage, which is a common thing with this. 37 flat DR is workable, but you're seeing about the same setup that you had with the last batch. D bonus amp, which is clearly the best A skill for distant counter right now. Lagoose Friend 4, which is a year old. Like that is crazy that skill has been around for that long. And then of course attack speed faith and Dragon's Wrath, which gives you a little more true damage on the counter, which is good. At least she has something there. But this unit is still going to mightily struggle, and one of the key things with Omni tanks right now is how easy it is to get around them and to attack your backline. Attack speed faith helps that, but it's still difficult. For Marth, okay, the reason I have him above these others is simply because he has Vantage, and there are Vantage plays that work right now. We can see the updated version with the 35th anniversary Marth. The problem is you just really have to boost up that true damage. True damage of 25 is atrocious, especially for a unit that is going to only be able to hit back once. And even with Eirika Ring, he's going to be able to hit back twice on the first hit. Past that though, there is a lot that's going to happen. So almost, I've got Eirika Ring here. You almost want the Marissa support so that he constantly gets brave. But even then, you're going to need more true damage out of this unit to really make him work. This is a way you could get him there, but you're going to have a lot of help from your teammates. Gatekeeper. Oh, I thought Gatekeeper was going to stay middle of the pack forever. And then they came out with anti-warp and more anti-warp and more anti-warp. And we're to the point where, yes, we are using both his preference weapon and his preference skill, but they are so commonplace now that it really doesn't matter. You do get some interesting support from a long distance, but even that, I mean, we have Sakura, who just absolutely destroys folks by, well, helping her friends destroy folks, I should say. But she can be all the way in the back line. As long as you're within 3 rows, 3 columns, then you're good to go. This is much, much lighter support in the form of just stats and a little bit of healing, and it's gonna be tough. I do have Silence Ward on him, and I think that probably is his best C skill right now. The problem with Silence Ward is the range, and having to be within 2 spaces of your ally is very, very difficult unless they're a savior, and these units obviously aren't. So that concludes the cannon fodder portion of this. If we look at the way this all stacks up, the only reason I have Gatekeeper above the others is, again, that uniqueness clause and the fact that he is using his preference weapon. You have all the way at the bottom with Lucina and Ike, and because they're not using their preference weapon, which means they're basically just another unit, and they're in a bad archetype, this is why right now I've got them as the worst Braves currently. But still, you saw builds that could work with them, and Johanna Lance in particular with Lucina is quite nice. So keep that in mind. Next up, we have D tier, and the overarching thing with this is D tier is less hard to use. So we require a team built around them, and they can struggle in their specific roles, but they can perform there. Let's get into it.
Another successful scheme.
So first up, we have our arcane archers, and archers have actually gotten a few things here recently. For one, they can use arch rival. They also have arcane hexbow, and arc fort breath is something to really keep your eye on. Now, I'm going to talk about favor a lot in this episode, and understand that it is probably one of the best skills that they've put out this year. But for these builds specifically, for older units, the fact that all the things that this Arc Fort Breath gives them are very good in that tiny little package. Being able to have piercing is incredibly nice, along with true damage and debuffs. And for archers, I think this is probably the best skill you've got, unless they have a preference weapon that gives you something else in there. Past that though, if you're a flyer, you get Deadly Miasma. If you're a cav, you get attack speed and Insight Hone. And then everyone gets Sly Swift Sparrow and Sly Echo. If I've got a preference, and the reason I have Claude ranked above Lyn is because of the mobility of flyers. I put a very high priority on flyer mobility, and I think it is incredible. So that is why Claude is above this unit, but ultimately they are both arcane archers.
I won't let you win.
Next, we have a group I'm calling the damage dealers. These are units that I'm using basically none of their kits, but I am just amping up the damage as much as I possibly can. And this is not a bad way to go, and you're seeing the results right here, putting a lot of these units into the green where they shouldn't be. It's interesting to see someone like Celica, and we've got Serving Knife, which isn't even an arcane weapon. This is just something that's inheritable and gets a lot of true damage. 25 is very, very nice. You then pump something like Arch Rival and Attack Speed Hex Edge, which is one of my favorite A skills right now. Potent Finish, which is great because you get 3 hits then, and Pulse Tempest F, which is fantastic because you get the mobility and the cooldown all into one. This unit doing a true damage of 55 and a boosted damage of 66 is not bad at all. And I think it's funny that we have Eirika to try to get that original double lion feel out of this unit. This unit was originally a Gale Force unit, and she was kind of a queen at that. You can still do that with support like with Sharena and have this unit do some decent harm there. Just know that she's not going to be a primary initiator. We move on to Micaiah, and flyers have had a rough time with getting new skills. They are constantly penalized for their mobility, which makes sense in a game balance sense, but I feel like they've been a bit too neglected. This Micaiah gets 51 true damage and 56 boosted damage, which is not bad, but that's out of the benefit of absolutely slaying a very poor Sharena and getting attack speed Aria and speed res Shackle. Deadly Miasma is just going to be your go-to for all flyers for maximum damage, but no, you can always put something else on there if you want her to be more supportive. Frost Moon in particular is nice with this kind of unit because, believe it or not, 44 speed is kind of low. If you look at the effective speed of this kit, it gets into the 80s, and what that really means is they spent too much stat points on it. It's that whole middling speed spot, which is really not great, but understand that's something that happens as a unit gets older. We think like 35 flowers is going to be good, and if we could put those 35 stat points into one single stat, then that would be amazing. But we have to spread them out across all 5, and that's not as good. I mean, you're essentially getting 7 to all stats, and what you'd really like is 14 to 2 of them would even be better. So it's just something you're kind of stuck with, and it means that every unit's stat line gets worse as the years go on. But you guys knew that already. Past that, we have Lysithea with Teapot Plus. This is kind of an interesting little thing to do here. So you've got attack speed favor on her, and the way this works is you're going to reposition her in to activate all the wonders of attack speed favor, and then just go to town. But the other possibility here is with Teapot Plus, you get the extra action. She actually repo someone else in and then attack that way. This is a lot of fun, and attack speed favor is one of the most versatile skills we have right now, and it's absolutely incredible. You just sell out though for all true damage. 69 true damage all the way. And the reason is she has such low res. Normally you see Ice Wall on something different. But I wanted to get the maximum amount of true damage out of attack speed Arya, so this is a bit of experiment. Astra may have been the better go-to here, but for this particular purpose, I did Ice Wall. Lysithea has always been a damage queen. 69 true damage is still very, very good, and you can get a lot out of this unit this way. Just know that this is, well, she always has been a one-trick pony, and this is more of that.
I will protect everyone!
Now we get into a fascinating archetype, and this is the melee calves, and melee calves have just gotten so much in the last year, and Blue Skies, Potent Assault, Attack Speed, Outcry, Dull. Now Arch Rival, Haze Slice is still really good, and you can put Sly Echo on them. This is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I have chosen to put Osseous Trident on Eliwood. Know that is... Johanna Lance is probably better just for pure damage, but I wanted at least a little survivability, and Osseous Trident helps with that. Arcane Renegade for Roy is... it's nice. It is not significantly better than Serving Knife, especially if you're looking for a nuke like this unit is. If you're asking my preference here, I do have Eliwood over. I would rather have true damage than boosted damage. True damage does not get hit by the weapon triangle, and it is harder to reduce for reasons that I have explained way too many times. I actually have a full episode on that if you want to go check that out. But melee calves have eaten lately. Like these are solid builds here. These are units that can actually go out and smack things around. If these are your favorites, this is a great way to go. So you can see how D tier kind of fell out there. And what we have is basically nukes. And you start off with, bow nukes, and you get to infantry nukes, and you get to melee cav nukes. Melee calves are clearly the way to go right now. If you have a favorite as a melee cav, you can make them work all the time. But again, D tier, these are units that you can get on your team, and with the right support can do a lot of good for you. This is a fun place to be because there are so many different directions you can go. So if this is one of your favorites, enjoy. C tier is always the most interesting. You've got to understand how most people value their units is what good they bring to them. So this is good role players that require specific situations. And this is one of those things, if you require that specific situation, these units suddenly jump up to S tier, and where others would put them, down in C tier. So if one of your favorites is in here and you're using them all the time, then all I can say is congratulations. You have just the right unit for you.
I'll cut my own path.
First up, we have Arcane Armors, which I thought sounded really catchy. What this really means is armors with inheritables on them. And you can see two right here in Ephraim and Edelgard. And it's interesting to note how much better Edelgard's stat line is, and also how just barely better she is at, being Edelgard. So that is something that has always been interesting to me, that when we talk about stats not mattering, usually what we're saying is the amount of stats you're talking about isn't enough to matter. And that's what we're looking at here. The difference here isn't significant enough to really put these units over the top. The other thing is, you'll notice I am not using these units in a traditional role. These are armor nukes. And it's funny that these perform so well as nukes. Keep in mind, we have Assault Rush now. At a minimum, that is giving you infantry levels of movement by just +1 space. If you don't have warp inhibitors, you've now got 3 spaces, in cardinal directions. That's a lot of fun. You slap on Eirika Ring, and these units can really do a lot of good. I have flat DR of around 38, true damage of around 47, boosted damage of 81. You can do a lot of good with these units and have a lot of fun with them. This is an interesting way to build things, but it also speaks to how hard it is to tank right now and how much they're buffing up nukes. past that, we have Johanna Lance, and I have this above the others because I do think there is a place for this. You can see I actually have a physical save on this unit because this unit is going to be tanking, everything that's physical with the high defense that they have. I don't have the stats booked out for this just because this is really just all about Miracle. Hardy Fighter, and yes, you're seeing that right, is there because it gives you 2 cooldown. You add in Quicken Pulse and you have 3 cooldown. You're going to need to find 2 more cooldown. And again, we talked about that, but I'm assuming that somewhere in your team that is not too terribly hard. Because honestly, it's not. 2 cooldown, stick an Asker next to this unit and they're there. So, if you've got Hector, this is actually a good way to build him, and it's not too expensive. You have 2 expensive skills in Diluvial Boost, which honestly, you can go with just about any boost, and I think you'd just be fine. And if you went with any savior, I still think this unit could function in that capacity. The problem with any of these Miracle users is Brave. We talked about it back with Lucina, but Brave is going to really hurt with this unit, and that's just the way it is. So that is an issue. There's an alternate way to run this unit with either Hardy Fighter or Shield Fighter. Use Johanna Lance, and then again have Ymir as a support. So that is something that you can work with. There's also Lena, and I'm blanking on the other fallen healer's name who could give you, an extra life essentially. So there are ways to be able to use this. And Brave Hector is still sticking around. So he's a literal zombie right now. It's Hector. What can you say?
I must have courage.
This is a weird 2 units to group together, but I actually do group them together. I think this is interesting. And what we basically have here is, Byleth has a lot of damage reduction. It's unpierceable because it's in Divine Pulse. Now, the way it has to work is you have to attack into someone to get it going, but that's still something that can really put you over the top. At a boost damage of 104 with a true damage of 57, again, that's absolutely something you can do. The problem is, even the tanks right now are getting insane amounts of true damage. Again, if they have Brave, this is absolutely an issue, but this is a usable unit. There's virtually no flat DR, but that's okay. The other portion we have here is Marianne, and Marianne has always been just fascinating to so many people because of the way she allows an extra action, allows a refresh. If you think about the way this unit is going to work, the way I have this unit set up, this unit is going to use Reposition Gate, and you get another action because you have Micaiah. Likely what you're going to want to do then is actually sidestep the unit and use the Canto involved in Reposition Gate there. From there, what happens is that unit attacks and then Canto's back to where Marianne is. What you want then is to have Marianne actually jump them with some kind of orders effect, attack into the other unit, which is at that point not the main tank. This unit has enough to take out secondary tanks, especially if she has enough speed, just not the main one. And you can see how the chain would go. The problem and the reason you start putting this unit so far down is because refreshers are so cheap right now. So cheap. It is absolutely insane how many actions you just get for free, even if you look at 8th Raid's offense and the 7th unit. The fact that on offense the 7 unit gets a free action is stupid. That is absolutely nuts, and to be honest, a bit overtuned if we're really looking at it. But hey, I guess they really wanted player face strats to hit, and they've put us in a position where we have to use them now. This unit specifically, though, with attack speed favor, it is really an excellent pairing. If you're a Marianne fan, I think this is a great way to go, and in a place where you can still get her into the mix.
You leave me no choice.
Now, you guys will love this one. This is like damage to the extreme, and the reason is Send Scale and Moonlight Bangle were ahead of their time as far as doing damage. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Alm was the premier unit to use for PvE clears. Back in his day, that was what you did. You didn't even use his weapon. You put on, what's the slaying sword? I forget the name, but yeah, you put that on and just absolutely went to town. This unit was crazy. And you can still use Send Scale for that exact purpose, which is really, really funny. 69 true damage and 65 boosted damage. And this unit gets a decent amount of range, and you can still really smack a lot of things. It is interesting to have him use Arch Rival. If there was some sort of green that he was really going up against, that would be incredibly handy. As of now, most of the units are going up against are red or blue or colorless, and that's unfortunate. We move over to Eirika, who might have... there's a possibility she could have climbed higher. I just don't think the additional boosted damage really got her there. There is something I want to mention, and this is, of course, the Johanna Lance thing that you've seen now 3 times. This is the 3rd time you've seen this. But the thing that stands out here is, what if you didn't use Arch Rival and you took out Johanna Lance altogether and put on some kind of AoE? Something we haven't talked about a lot is Favor is absolutely trying to bring back AoE as a viable means to destroy things, which is an interesting place to be. And Moonlight Bangle adds all of that true damage to an AoE, which was why she was so popular for much longer than she should have been in modes like Summoner Duels. But give it a try. I've seen some really crazy things. If you're an Eirika fan, you combine someone else with Favor who repositions her in, and good things happen. Just be on the lookout for more strategies like that. So we've got our role players done, and we're on to some interesting things, but I just wanted to see, this is interesting how the spread on this works, where we have role players in a lot of different niches and categories. This is a fun place to be as a Brave. But we need to get to B tier. Much like D tier was to E tier, this is just a step up. These units work with the right team and absolutely contribute in key scenarios and can be key to winning things, as opposed to having to build teams around them or having to figure out how to get them into your squad. It is much easier with this group.
I won't accept defeat.
Now, I've entitled these 2 niche questions because these are units that in a vacuum are very good, but have a hard time fitting into the meta right now as is. And I want to start with Alfonse. And I know probably the way you want to use this unit is more really stacking up on the bulk. I was trying to see if there was a way that I could get more true damage out of him, but the attack defense excel build on him is really, really nice. I think you keep everything else the same and just hope for a version of these that boosts up defense as opposed to attack and speed. But the problem with Alfonse has always been he gets better the longer you play, and especially in the nuke meta that we're in, matches are over very fast. Even in Arena, you have such mobility there that the team is over on your side of the map by turn 1, oftentimes in range of killing you by turn 1. So having a unit that needs to warm up before he gets going to really get all of his stats going is problematic. And great talent, part of the issue is they never really had other units who could play into this one and boost up his stats. So, was this unit very bulky for his time? Yes, absolutely. Is he now? No. There is a lot of different types of units that can really smack this unit around. The thing that I keep hearing, and I understand this is not a slight, is how good this unit is in PvE still. And this is a viable way to play this game. If you want to use this unit, for instance, in auto battle or for any kind of clear, this is a lot of fun and can, when you're going up against larger amounts of units like we often have in any kind of PvE, there are more opportunities for you to build up stats, and you can just build this absolute monster of an Alfonse. And I think that's why he has such big fans, is that's a very Fire Emblem feel to it, right? You have a unit, you slowly build them up through the course of the battle until at the very end they smack the big bad guy. Whereas so many of our matches right now, it's a turn and they're done. So it's an interesting place to be, and I would be on the lookout for his Refine because it's possible that they do make this a very good unit when his time comes. Corrin. All right, if you look at Corrin's stats in a vacuum, short of S tier, this unit has the best stats of any Brave as a tank, flat out. The problem, again, is how powerful nukes are. And this has been something that I've had to kind of wrap my head around. I don't think Corrin got a good refine. She just didn't get a good enough refine to really stand up to what she needed to. And I don't know that we wanted her to. That would usher in just all the chaos that would ensue from having overpowered tanks that had to counter cam. And the pendulum would swing back too hard. So that's a long way of saying this is a good unit. Now, I do have one of the build that I promised. I've been looking at a supportive build, and I'm going to flash it up here. For most of these, I only had one build, but for this one, I wanted to look at the second one. So this unit scores 770 max in arena, and with this build, it's going to be 768, but Diluvial Boost, attack speed, favor, reposition gate, and Micaiah ring along with barricade, and you get stones out of this unit. That is a lot of arena support and can really, really help you out in that mode. If this is one of your favorites and you're using this unit in arena, this is actually the build that I would use. If you're using her anywhere else, obviously no, and go find something else. But this is something that you guys can hopefully get on board with if this is a unit that you've been trying to use in arena.
Just like my brother.
Next, we have what I have deemed the Ice Lock group here. And the fact is, well, you know what? It's a Shadow, I think, said it best when he said, the best near save is Ice Lock. That's just flat out. That is absolutely correct. And I have seen some crazy things done in Aether Raids and Summoner Duels and even Summon Arena and a lot of other places. Ice Lock is powerful. And being able to use it on any healer is insane. And there are a lot of other things that they've given out to healers. Glitter of Light is excellent. Arcane Charmer is a great weapon. Well, it's a good weapon. We'll say for what it is, for the support it brings, I do believe it's fairly usable. Speed Res Shackle is something that's additionally good, and it also does bring in some true damage. So these units don't hit like a wet noodle. That's very good. Now, these are two different builds for two different places. I know they look very similar, but that C skill means a lot. What we have here is Camilla, who's a flyer, is better with other tanks and helping out there. What we've got with Veronica is essentially what you're doing is you're applying Ice Lock and possibly you have another action, but then you get to, smite your player phase unit into combat, which you would have for hit and run purposes, a nice little blanket that would protect you. And then you have, a unit that's going out and taking a couple of the big hitters and then running back behind the barrier. Both of these are interesting to use, and I have them for different things, and you could definitely swap between the two. I do prefer flyer mobility, especially on supports. So my preference is going to be to Camilla, but these are a lot of fun. This is a good way to build your healer if you would like to.
Once more.
So next we have what I'm terming the Mobility Masters. And there's a couple different things you can do with these guys, but they all have special things that go with them. And starting with Robin, first off, that amount of boosted damage with that amount of DR is actually really good. This unit is stout and can go in with pass and smack things around. Now, right now, I have Celica ring on there. What I'm assuming is that this unit is never really going to be good enough to take out the absolute premier tanks. And I want whoever that is to have my Eirika ring. But putting Celica ring on a unit that has pass is very powerful and can get this unit to places that other units cannot. So this is actually a lot of fun, and even putting this unit, what would be interesting is having this unit as your 7th unit in AR, and then having an extra action and getting Gale Force with them as well, with that high mobility. There are a lot of fun things you can do with this unit. I definitely think there is a place for him in the meta. Next, we have Felix, and The problem with Felix is that damage, and 23 true damage is just not cutting it right now. Absolutely not. And that is unfortunate for all of you Felix fans, which I know there are quite a few of you. Although I know there are quite a few of you who celebrated his demise as well. That being said, this is another unit that if you're talking about PvE, I think he can really just... Well, I use him every day in some sort of grinding thing, exercise, whether it's arena or it's any type of farming. This is the unit to use. He just has such great range and additional attacks, and it's kind of nutty. Now, I don't prioritize units on their ability to clear auto battle. If I did though, this unit would be S tier. No kidding. Just absolutely S tier. Then we have Gullveig, and I know you're going to wonder why Gullveig is over Felix. And for what she wants to do, she's getting near elite levels of true damage, and she's got flyer mobility. What made her great is her ability to ignore so many terrain penalties that we had in Aether raids. Think of everything they're doing to try to stop calves, and this unit just ignores it, and through Cycle's turn just gets another action for free. I will say I'm still chewing on it, so I didn't put it up. There's an interesting argument to be made this unit really needs to be AoE and combined with favor in some sort. I didn't get it to a place where I liked though, and for now, I'm still calling this the ideal build, but no, that is something you should probably look out for. Regardless though, this is a great way to use this unit, and if you ditch Speed Res Shackle, you get another action. So 3 actions out of this unit, which is really nice out of a ranged flyer, even if it's just a secondary nuke. 3 actions is worth it on a secondary nuke that can completely fly over terrain. On the surface, B tier looks like it has the biggest range. Comparing Alfonse to Gullveig is I mean, I'd rather have Gullveig. But if you really dig down, the question is, where would you rather have Gullveig? And each of these is like that. They have individual places where they really contribute. Even Alfonse, because of his unique support, definitely has a place right now. So these are all fun units that can be used in very different ways. And these middle tiers are always the most fun for me because it's looking at units and how they've evolved and how they've changed. So I enjoy B tier a lot, and we're about to move into A tier and really dig down. So here we go. The big criteria here is these units fit on many different teams or they're dominant in one area. And that's why that dominant in one area is really what you have to watch out for. The fits on many teams is fairly obvious. But if you just absolutely excel in one individual mode and define an archetype, you're in A tier. Easy, even if you can't be used in any other mode. Let's get into it though.
I'll protect the Exalt!
First up we have Robin, and this is such an interesting unit. And we just talked about Ice Lock and how great that is, but this unit uses it in more creative ways that are honestly more passive, which is really, really powerful when you don't have to take an action. The other thing I want you to pay attention to is the B skill, and this brings up a really interesting point. When you have a brave unit, you want what makes them special to be in their weapon. This makes them better long term because you can start swapping things out. You're going to see I kept according to plan. In fact, let's just go to the build suggestion. So I kept according to plan and tried to get this unit to be somewhat of a nuke with Ice Wall. If you went pure support with this unit, you would go favor because favor is so incredibly powerful. But there are a lot of things that according to plan can bring you. In particular, Hush Spectrum versus things like Black Knight is still very, very good. Let's move on to the damage analysis though. This unit has next to no flat DR, 50 true damage, which is not bad, and 39 boosted damage with effective stats at 97, 73, 45, 57. When you are looking at effective stats, the number you want to remember is 100. And if it's over 100, then it's good. If it's under 100, it's still usable. And if it's under 50, then it's pretty well trash. So these are effective stats, though. This is everything in the kit really building towards that. Ultimately, though, you are using this unit for support, and we probably could have skipped the damage analysis altogether. But I wanted to give you guys an idea of how hard the unit hits, which is decently hard. The best friends for this unit, any unit that needs to stall the enemy. So any savior is going to love this, but particularly right now, Byleth, with his ability to, fling out the creator's sword 3 spaces away, loves the ice that this unit gives. So that is something to keep in mind. And if you wanted to go the pure Byleth route, absolutely you would go with the favor, and you would smite Byleth in, give him all of those buffs, and have ice sprout out around him. And then, go and destroy your enemy, be that in Arena Assault or Aether Raids or Summoner Duels. This unit is a lot of fun to use.
Weaker than expected.
I said it in my Refines review, but the thing about Soren's Refine, it's a lot like Chrom's was. If you were using Soren before, then you're still using Soren now, and he's still great for that purpose. Period. He is excellent at turning units that are traditionally not saviors into saviors, and it means it widens your pool. The problem with Soren at this moment is there aren't a whole lot of units that you want to do that with. And so that is, that's an issue. So I still don't think he's lost value, though, since last year, and we are waiting for another batch of tanks for him to really excel. But in the meantime, I think he's holding steady, and even when that happens, I think what he does is so unique that it's hard to drop him, much like Gatekeeper. Gatekeeper was great right up until the time they introduced Warp Bubble, which was the start of it, and then they started introducing saviors with, warp skills built into their save skills, and that just absolutely destroyed him. If that were to happen, if they decided to make Eikþyrnirs all over the place, then he would absolutely drop it. But until that happens, he's holding steady right there. So the build I have for him, I had a different build, and I had damage analysis and all this, and I saw attack speed favor, and I went, no. I don't care about the decent nuking power he has. You want attack speed favor on this unit. And I've got reposition gate, although really for how tightly he works, it should have been swap gate, and then the Micaiah ring so he can swap and have that extra action and, do wonderful favor things. And this is a lot of fun. This is a great way to get Ice Wall going too with Time's Pulse Echo, and you gotta love this. As far as best friends, right now the big one you have is Marth, and turning Marth into a near save with all of that wonderful vantage power is just good. But this unit is always going to be as good as the units that he can give savior to. So as those come and go, his value will fluctuate in the moment. But I think overall, again, until he gets power crept, it's going to be Soren is good, but not great.
Perny is sick of fighting!
I actually think Bernadetta is in a very similar boat. Giving out Vantage the way she does is sneakily powerful, and Paranoia as a skill is quite good. Just to review you here, if you don't have full HP, it gives you Desperation and Vantage, and that doesn't include saves. Those are 2 incredibly powerful effects in the meta right now. That is crazy, but she also gets to reflect penalties and self-cleanses, and this is a very interesting unit. She has never found a solid place, but she's always been a lot like Soren, where she pops in and out of the meta depending on what's going on. So I think this is a great unit, and I think this build on her is very nice with Speed Res Shackle, which gives about 15 true damage, and Slice with Sparrow, and yeah, I'm a fan of this, and there are a lot of different places you can use her. As far as her quality of attack, it is okay. It's nice that she has a brave weapon. True damage of 37, though. You'd like that to be a little higher. And boosted damage of 71, which is mostly arch rival and is only going to go off once. This is decent. Like, this is okay, but this is not amazing. What you're really looking at this unit is as a support unit. So that's where she really shines. As far as places where she helps out, I have Rhea there. Understand that Rhea is not there as a best friend because you're helping out saves, because you don't get Vantage on saves. What she's helping out there is for the miracle support. Any Vantage unit loves to have a do-over. And so turning a unit into a Vantage unit and then having, someone like Cam come in and smack you and kill you, and Rhea says, no, just kidding, you still have 1 HP. That's incredibly powerful. But also any of the elite Omni tanks, which there aren't many of, but I mean, you've got Male Alir, and he is very good and loves stuff like this. You get Desperation and Vantage and a lot of the craziness that's happening with the penalties. This unit can go in and possibly smack a unit and take them out, or possibly Vantage and take them out before he gets taken out. It is incredibly powerful to have.
I shall protect all.
In the category of unit that shocked me the most is Seliph. We're going to skip all of the description because I don't think that's necessary. Know that you're ditching Air to Light because, again, what you want out of your Brave unit is to have everything special about them in the weapon, because it allows you to do builds like this. Remember, Holy Tide Tearfing has a good amount of true damage and Miracle. Those are the two qualities that you want out of a weapon right now. Like that's excellent. And then you combine that with all the other things that Cavs get. And you've already seen this build: Arch Rival, Blue Skies, Potent Assault, Attack Speed, Outcry Dull. Those are all really good skills. And you can have Sly Echo on this unit as well. And you get to the damage analysis, and it's ridiculous. Like, throw Eirika Ring on here if you don't care about the extra mobility, and this unit will absolutely smack things. 32 flat DR is nothing to sniff at. And true damage of 80. And a boosted damage of 80. I really, really enjoyed seeing this unit come into prominence, and I am curious to see if anyone goes out there and rebuilds this unit with all of this knowledge, because this unit can really function right now. So Seliph is good again. As far as best friends, what you really want is to put this unit into some sort of, Cav line with Marissa, and then have the Sigurd ring to get that extra movement. And then, you're off to the races. This is a lot of fun to use. I've got Ingrid in there because, this unit does have Miracle, so just that extra support would be just that much more fun. I am pleasantly surprised with how good this unit is, though. So go out and try Seliph.
This should do it.
There was a brief moment where I thought about dropping Chrom down, and it is so hard for me to believe how much staying power this unit has gotten. And then you tack on all of the skills that we just talked about, and you've got craziness. Like as a quick summary, this unit, the big thing, this unit absorbs bonuses and then scales stats off of bonuses. And then of course has the amazing Cav inheritance. And what we've got is this build here. And this is a good stat line. You've seen this before, and I don't want to spend too much time here. I just want to skip straight to the damage analysis because, so we've got 106 boosted damage, but keep in mind, this unit has armor effectiveness, and that by itself is actually quite good in the current meta. You add an Arch Rival, and this is wonderful against Black Knights. Absolutely wonderful. And near save is like the spot for Black Knight right now. I don't care what mode you're in. Like, this is a great thing to have. True damage of 58, boosted damage of 106, and that stat line. Now, I'm assuming 20 bonuses here, which might be a little overkill and I might have should have done 10, but I've seen so many Chrom users just go nuts. And you can do 20. So I decided that's what I do. Keep in mind that it only benefits the stats, but still, that's pretty insane, isn't it? This unit is a monster. And I what do you even say? Move down to best people this unit deals with here. And I mean, still, you can use this unit with Sigurd, and with Gallop have 2 extra spaces. But past that, I mean, Marissa for Brave support, and I've got Dogger up there, but really I'm looking at Pathfinder to extend the range even further. Any way you can get that, any way you can extend the range makes this unit more effective. The only problem with this unit is that he's a Cav, and they are really trying to limit Cav movement right now. But I mean, what do you do with that? I mean, sure, that's the one dink in the armor. The reason this unit didn't make it to the next tier is I do think mostly this unit is limited to use in summoner duels. I talked about Arena Assault, and you can use him there, absolutely. And I don't see him a lot in Aether Raids because of the way that mode works. Normally, you're going to get better options, and the self-refresher is just not unique anymore. So that is the small thing that is keeping him from bumping up into S tier. He was close. He's really close. This is a really good unit. And if you made an argument to me that I am wrong and I could have been an S tier, and I don't know how much argument I could really give you. This is an excellent unit. The way I've got this, though, he's right on that hairy edge. This is a great unit. If you step back and look at this tier, these are all good units with specific places where they contribute and specific unique things that make them valuable. This is a fun tier to use because these are all units that have mostly been revamped or have a recent refine and can go out and do some crazy things with the right investment. Our last tier is S, and I just have meta defining because that's what we have here. These are units that you have to worry about consistently every time you go into different modes. You know you are going to have to prepare for these units. And I mean, there's no doubt who they are. I think you might be surprised by the order, though.
I'm a noble lady now.
We talked about how cheap actions were, and Sharena is just a case study in that. I cannot believe how many actions they gave this unit. I have been using her nonstop, and I am very pleasantly surprised, but I am very happy with the recent inheritance. And if you look at this build here, this is my personal favorite. You have attack defense favor and Astra swapped out for her normal, special, and B skill. And keep in mind, attack defense favor gives you that piercing that Magic Light was giving. The difference is Astra lets you get a little more true damage out of attack speed Arya, which is very nice. But if you combine this unit with something like Reflex, which keep in mind, I keep on bringing that up, but there are 2 different ways to get it. I have a feeling it's not the last time we get a way to have Reflex on units. This unit is really, really powerful at that point. You do have to worry about Creation Pulse that's given out in Just Like Mother, and you need 2 penalties on the opposing team to really take advantage of that and have easy access to Astra. So keep that in mind, but this is a great build. Looking at the damage analysis, this unit, the only complaint I have, and I've had it since the beginning, is that flat DR of 0. Like, you are just expecting this unit to survive brave hits, which is not going to happen. So, you're not going to take this unit up against anyone who's brave. Anyone. Other than that, though, true damage of 65 is very nice. Boosted damage, I've got approximately there because Astra is a little tricky to calculate, but that boosted damage is probably going to be that or higher. Like, adding in Astra and Reflex together, this unit is really going to do a nice job against the opponent. I have had so much fun with this unit. The best analysis, though, that I've heard of this unit is she is incredibly powerful, but but she is hard to use. And I would agree with that statement, and most of that surrounds the fact that she's a cav. Cavs right now are very limited in the movement that they have. IS is trying to expand the maps by limiting range, which is just hard to do. One of the major problems with Fae right now is the size of the maps, and the fact that you can get all the way across a map in one movement is insane. But Sharena, most of the time, can find ways around that, and because of that becomes an incredibly powerful unit to use in any mode right now. If she scored better, I would say she was an absolute boss in Arena, but as is, Arena Assault is a great place for her. So, that's what we've got. As far as her best friends, anyone trying to do player phase. Anyone. But particularly Ingrid and her work incredibly well together. They complement each other so very well. So I keep that in mind. I've got Cam up there because, Cam loves extra actions. So, yeah. So this is an action support unit, and honestly, I'm still very happy with her design.
You must be joking.
It's taken 3 weeks for me to drop Baldr from the number 1 spot to the number 3 spot. But the thing I need you to pay attention to is it's not because Baldr has gotten worse. Baldr is still exactly what we thought she was, and Baldr is an excellent ranged nuke. I still have her as the best ranged nuke in the game for all that she provides. The next 2 units past her, though, we have gotten better at using them as a community, and I have some fun stuff to show you there. This unit's build is still base kit, because honestly, ranged flyers are always going to have a little harder of a problem because they have less skill inheritance. So that's where we are with this unit. If we look at the damage analysis, though, this unit still has just amazing flat DR, good true damage, and pretty good boosted damage. This unit is a brick. So she still does all the same things we thought she did well. But we have more interesting things coming. Let's look at just the best friends here. Sharena, giving her an extra action is amazing, and Elm being able to spread undefended and let her take off anyone and kind of erode the support before she really goes in for the kill on the main tank. Those are both excellent friends with this unit, and this is a tanky nuke, which is kind of a rarity, so it's an interesting archetype and absolutely someone you have to plan for and watch out for. Eikþyrnir is just fascinating, and I want to see how his arc plays out. I still have all the same concerns. I mean, the biggest being long-term skill inheritance, but second to that is bonus cleansers right now. We just got a free Thor, and free Thor can wipe all of the bad things away from the opposing team. And so if you had save before, suddenly you don't. That is a problem for this unit. But I think this last season in SD has shown us how powerful he is. And even going back to the Chaos season right before that, it was nuts how well this unit did. He is very dependent on visible buffs and absolutely requires a team around him. But what you look for with that is you get more out of this unit than what you put in. And the fact that so many of the threats right now are melee makes this unit incredibly powerful at this time. I still have base kit on this unit because I think that is still the best build, but there are some different variations coming out. Most of them involve swapping out the A skill, although deflect melee is also very interesting in the seal. Let's look a little bit at the damage analysis, and 61 flat DR is very good for a tank. True damage of 61. This unit also hits very hard, and that's why Assault Fighter is such a good skill on him, and the boosted damage of 63 is good. So the other thing, though, that I want you to look at there, and this is, we talked about at the beginning, this is optimal. So everything falls in your way, which means you have stats on everyone, and you get 119 attack, 33 speed, 105 defense, and 79 res. That's nutty. That is absolutely nutty. This unit is a stat ball with tons of flat DR and true damage and percent damage reduction from Mighty Roar, and he is very, very hard to kill unless you have a unit designed specifically towards him. As far as best friends, I've got 2 up here. I will say for the most part, really, it's 35th Anniversary Marth. That unit really does well with Eikþyrnir. But if you're playing Aetherraid's defense, I like Rhea better. Rhea giving miracle support and then also being the magic save, I think has a lot of nice roll compression to it and allows you to do a lot of things with this unit. So I keep that in mind. Those are both very good options. There are a lot of fun ways to use Eikþyrnir though, and I think he's going to be around for a bit just because of all the things he brings to the game.
I will protect them.
Why is Byleth first? And we need to talk about some things. And for that, we almost just need to go all the way back to the rubric. And the first thing is effect on the player base. This unit is good in every mode. You have Eikþyrnir, who just absolutely sucks at Aetherraid's offense and is okay on defense. And you have Sharena that is good in action teams, but that's really it. Anything that's player phase, she really excels at. And you have Baldr, who's just, nuke. This unit is such an interesting mix and does everything in a very unique way and even scores well in Arena. This unit can be used everywhere. And the biggest thing is having a melee unit with a 3-range weapon is such an interesting wrinkle to plan for on the opposing team. It is really fantastic. Is this a good Omni tank? No. This unit is an okay Omni tank. Like, don't get me wrong, but to be a truly elite Omni tank, you have to be able to take out Cam, and you can't. This unit actually dies to a lot of things, not just Cam. But let's move on. I want to look at this unit's kit, and this is the going kit right now is Arch Rival, Lagoo's Loyalty, and Pulse Tempest F for that boost in cooldown and of course the mobility. Let's move on. This is a really interesting because you've gutted this unit, right? There's nothing on this unit that was in the original kit, and that's craziness to already have. This is the 3rd week this unit has been around, and I'm already changing out everything in the kit. Let's look at the results, and you're going to see why. So 50 flat DR is good. Like don't get me wrong, 50 flat DR is good. Like that's 9 short of BK. True damage of 55 is definitely good, especially at the range that you're getting this unit to. And a boosted damage of 81 is excellent. So all of that, this unit can really do a lot of damage. And if you're looking at what this unit is supposed to be, it's not in the Omni tank role. It's more in Baldr's role, which was a tanky nuke. And I think if you change your perspective on him, then you get how good this unit is. A tanky nuke isn't supposed to survive the whole team. A tanky nuke is supposed to survive one unit. And this guy can do that for a lot of opponents. But I am amazed at how many different ways you can use this. Right now I'm using this unit in Aetherraids, and I most of the time don't have him actually killing things on Aetherraid's offense. I have him taking out buildings. And then that's a chink in the armor, and then Cam goes in and finishes out the rest, and you add in Sharena and you're just getting extra actions all over the place. That's a crazy way to use this unit, and there are lots of different crazy ways. I've seen some fantastic things in Summoner Duels using this unit as a frontliner that you're basically, no one can get close to you because you have so much range when you add in that style. This unit is nuts, and there are a lot of different creative ways to use him, and I think he's going to be good for a very, very long time. I will forever be bitter that this unit got a style and Sharena didn't. Just so you know, Byleth fans, I will forever hate you just a little bit. No, it's in love. I appreciate that you got a good unit, but I'm jealous. Very, very jealous. Fire Emblem has some of the most amazing symbols and iconography I've seen in any game. I've always absolutely loved them, so we took them and we embroidered them on hoodies, and I've got the link up right above my head. Go check those out, but I feel like each of these symbols tells a story about what you love about this game. Go check those out. So, best friends for this unit. Cam to offer, additional support and to, break things into pieces and allow you to sneak through. Any savior, I've got Eikþyrnir up there because he's just the savior for a lot of what this unit does. But having this unit in front of Eikþyrnir, so you have that support and just extending range and all that crazy stuff. I love this unit. This unit is so much fun to use, and to me, because of all the different ways he contributes and how unique he is, this is the best Brave in the game right now. So here is where we're at, and understand it's no surprise that the new Brave units are all in S tier.
But I'm begging you.
But that isn't always the case. Keep in mind, last year we did have some blips with Alfonse, for instance, but understand they did a good job with the design this year, and they did an okay job with the refines. Normally what you want to see is S tier with the new units and A tier with the new refines. That didn't quite happen this year, but for the most part, they did a decent job. We just would have liked to have seen a little bit more. But A tier is interesting. You notice 3 of those units are calves because calves just keep on winning, especially melee calves. I cannot believe that Chrom and Seliph are back up there. That is nuts to me. These are 3-year-old units and they have been thrust back up into A tier. Absolutely crazy. But you've also got stuff like Veronica and Camilla coming out of the blue with Ice Lock. So as long as you're not a tank, IS has been really good about giving your favorite extra skills. And that's fun to see. You would like to see them also give tanks things, but oftentimes you have to pick and choose. And I think they've covered a wide range of units and they've done a good job with them. What we'd like to see next is a little more balance between nukes and tanks. So IS, get working on that. If you'd like to know more about damage and the state of nukes right now, I have a whole episode on how to deal damage. It's a couple months old, but it still very much holds up into how things are working right now. Members, you are amazing. Thank you for all that you do. Take care and schedule an appointment with your phaologist real soon.